not like teenagers learning or children learning. When adults are trying to learn new things, it's usually a tough process. I gave thought to it, and I decided that okay, I think we need to have a class on this, so that you will be able to integrate um, this new information you are gaining into your, so it can become a part of you. It can become a living part of your work experience. You are learning things in project management, you're learning in data science, data analytics, and all of that. Um, I don't know if this has happened to you, but you may have seen this happen many times with other people. They attend conferences, they attend workshops, they read books. You would expect that there would be some evident change in them, evident improvement, but it turns out that not much changes. There is not, you can't really see a lot of significant transformation. And the reason for that is they have not been able to integrate um, that learning experience. And so there are four stages of integrating new learning experience, which we are going to look at. And it's called ORID. It's called ORID. So today's class is integrating experiences with ORID. So you've attended several classes, and you will be attending new classes in the future, in the course of this program. The goal of this session we're having right now is to help you properly internalize, properly incorporate this new learning you are gaining, so it does not um so you don't forget and it doesn't become a part of you. It's like eating food and you are not able to absorb it. I mean, if you're unable to absorb the food, it's as good as you not eating the food at all. If you're unable to absorb the fresh information you are gaining from each classes and integrating them into your living experience, then it's as good as you not attending the class at all. And I'm trying to lay a foundation before I go further. And I don't want you to be carried away or to be deceived by saying the classes are difficult. No, it's not difficult. Your mind is like, your brain is like a muscle. It's like an elastic. The extent to which you can stretch it has no limit. And you may have found someone who at first, at the onset, they were finding it difficult learning how to solve a certain mathematical equation, and then over time it became like bread and butter for them. Why? Because they've been able to integrate this learning process. So or it can also be called reflective practice. I mentioned this during the communication class. And so what does ORID means? So the O in ORID is observe, 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 observe what? So here you are asking yourself, you are attending this class, or you've finished attending this class. You've heard the teacher say so much in the course of 1 hour, 2 hours. And one thing about ORID is that you are able to ask yourself questions, 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 questions. That's what makes ORID very effective. That's what helps you integrate the learning experience. So the O in ORID is observe. So you ask yourself, what did I observe? What did I observe in the class? What did I observe? I wish I had made a slide. Um, I think I would have to create that eventually. Uh, but I just want to read out what I had put down in my notes. So the ORID model is based on the idea that people process information in four stages. They process information in four stages. So there is the objective stage, which is the observe, and then there is reflection, and then there is interpretative, which is insight, trying to glean the insight from that learning experience, and then there is the decisional phase, where you now make a decision. You now make a decision hinged on what you have learned. in project management, in data science, and analytics, and what have you. So I'm going to take my time because I like to take my time when I'm explaining certain things. And like I mentioned to us the last time, that I am not really going to do so much of I know sending you a slide is important for you to have as your notes, but I usually do not like the slide teaching thing. I like making it conversational. And sometimes I send the notes first, and then later on we have a conversation so that we can both flow on the same page. So like I mentioned, I had mentioned that the ORID model is based on four stages of integrating new knowledge. You have the objective phase, you have the reflective phase, you have the interpretative phase, or the interpretive phase, and you have the decisional phase. Okay, so how is this used in our learning experience? So you are attending a project management class, and let's say this is the first time you're attending a project management class, or this is the first time you are exposed to this new information in project management. And so now you are in the middle of the class, or the class has ended. You now ask yourself this question: what did I observe? What did I observe? That is the objective phase. What did I observe? Meaning, what is that new thing that I heard in this class that I have not heard before? What is that profound statement that really struck a chord in me? So the objective in this objective phase, objective stage, objective questions. You ask yourself objective questions focused on the facts and data that are relevant to the topic. You ask yourself questions that is focused on the facts and data that are relevant to the topic. So in this phase, you are observing, you are being objective, you are trying to pay attention to those profound things that you heard. And the reason why this is important is that it helps your brain put it in your long-term memory, where you are able to recall. Because if you don't do this, it's easy for your brain to scrap it out as um, unimportant information. So there are certain your brain is a massive machine. It's absorbing a lot of information. So for example, you woke up this morning, your brain was able to detect as your feet stepped on the floor, your brain was able to pick, okay, the floor is warm, the floor is cold, it's a rock carpet, it's a tile carpet, okay, the light, the intensity of the light, the sound, everything. There is so much data that your brain is processing. But you see, not all of that data is being stored in your long term memory, because your brain feels like this is too much. I need to create space for what matters. And so, what does it do? It shades it off. So, that's why there are certain things this morning that you did that you will not remember. You will not remember um, how many times you rinsed your mouth when you brushed your teeth. You will not remember how many times you used the spoon when you were eating. You will not remember certain sounds you heard in the morning. Why? Because you did not really pay attention to that um stimulus, and so your brain is like, okay, it's not important, it's not important to them. Let me wipe it out. And so it is possible that your brain will do the same thing to that project management class, that product management class you attended, if you do not observe and ask yourself this question. And what are the questions? What is that new thing that I heard in this class that is relevant for me? What is that statement that I heard? Sometimes you hear a profound statement and you are like, oh, wow, this is the first time I'm hearing this. And so this is why we're being asked many times, have notes, jot down things, you know, have those notes, it would really, really help you. So in observe, you are asking yourself a very, very keen question, a very, very important question. The question of, what is that profound thing? What did I observe while I was, listening to this class and hearing these things? What did I notice? What did I notice? What new information? Okay, so that is under observe. And then after you leave that stage of observe, you go into the next stage of ORID, which is R. And the R there is reflective, 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 reflective. So there is no learning if there is no reflection. That's a fact. There is no learning if there is no reflection. People make the same mistakes over and over and over again because they have refused to give time for reflection. You will do the same thing again and again. You will keep making that mistake. You say, "Oh, it's difficult, I can't." You will keep making that mistake because you have not given time to reflect. So, what reflection does is that it helps us, and it helps us, look at ourselves, give ourselves like a 360 degrees view of a situation. So in reflect, you are asking yourself um, a very important question: what internal thoughts, internal feelings arose within me when I was hearing this thing? What did I feel? How did I feel when I was in this class or when I was hearing this thing? That is very important because many times your fresh information is being stamped with feelings. For example, now you can remember certain things from your childhood because of the nostalgia associated with those experiences. For example, when many times we love Christmas songs not because Christmas songs are, you know, the the best melodious songs or what have you. We cherish them because there is a feeling it evokes, and it brings back how we felt as children when we heard those Christmas songs. And when we're around the Christmas tree and our parents bought us Christmas gifts and we visited family members, those feelings were now attached to those songs. And when we hear those songs, the feelings come along with it. So there are certain songs you hear now, and it reminds you of maybe your college days when you were in university or when you were a teenager, or those songs, they come with a feeling, and that's why it sticks. It stays with you forever. And so it all, let's say, for example, your wedding day, you remember your wedding day because of the feeling that came with that day. And so that feeling kind of like put an imprint, a signature on the experience that you had on that particular day. So it's a day you will not forget because of the feeling that accompanied it. It's also the same thing with your learning experience. In reflection, you're not only you finish the observation, you finish asking the objective questions. This time you are asking yourself, what did I feel? What did I feel in the course of attending this class? Now, you could ask yourself, did I feel a sense of optimism? Did I feel a sense of that I need to know more, I need to learn more? Because I have noticed this many times when I'm in a class and I'm experiencing it, or the class has ended and I'm reflecting on the class, and I have this feeling, or let's say it's evoking this feeling um of hope, of inspiration, of motivation. The information tends to stick. It tends to stick because now this feeling of motivation and inspiration now wraps around that knowledge. And also, this is one of the reasons why trauma stays with people. I'm not delving into trauma because I'm not an expert in trauma, but the reason why trauma stays long in people is that the feeling that was evoked in the moment it happened, in the moment of that concentrated stress, stays with the individual. So anytime you remember the incident, it comes with the feeling. Anytime you remember, it comes with the feeling. And it stays a long time. So it takes therapy for you to now change or work on the way you feel each time you recall. So it shows you that your emotions play a very significant role in your learning experience, and it's very important you give attention to how you felt in that moment you were learning. Was it an inspiring moment for you? And how did it make you feel? So the reflective stage, um, there are reflective questions you have to ask yourself. How you ask yourself, what feelings, what emotions did this learning experience elicit within me? What feelings came up within me when I was going through this topic in this class? It's very, very important. Did I feel motivated? Did I feel that there is still a lot more for me to learn? Did I feel that this is something important for me? Because if you are just going through a class and you are stoic about it, it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick. That's why we're being asked to be present. Be present when you are in class. That is one of the ways that information you are going is going to stick, because you are living the experience. You are living the experience. Okay. So we've talked about observe, where you ask objective questions. You ask yourself objective questions relating to the facts and data of uh, that topic. There's someone with their mic on. Could you please mute your mic? Thank you very much. So I'm trying to go back again so that you can remember, because one thing with adult learning, you have to repeat, repeat, repeat. So I'm talking about the ORID model of integrating your learning experience. And ORID is observe, reflect, insights, or you could say interpret, and decide or decision. And so we're trying to look at the different stages of integrating new knowledge. you know so I talked about the observe stage, or the objective stage, where you give attention to data and information that you're hearing for the first time. You try to make sure you gain clarity. You leave nothing for you don't leave it to vagueness. You don't leave it to assumptions. You clarify and confirm. Okay, and then we talked about the reflective, where after you've asked yourself these objective questions, you now sit back and you reflect and you think, wow, I am attending this project management class. I that class on XYZ. Wow, that was really nice. Wow, so I would be able to change my career. So this thing he said is so true. I'm just trying to show you how, you know the reflection takes. Many phone has really distracted a lot of people. Immediately after each class, we are pressing our phones. You can't integrate new learning. You can't integrate new learning. I'm not saying you shouldn't go on your phone. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that create time, sit alone and think. Sit alone and think. I love spending alone time, many times. I like such moments. You just sit and you stare, or you just sit and you look, and you are thinking, you are in your mind, you're trying to reflect on certain things. That is how we learn. And also digressing away from your learning experience, it's also important you reflect on your actions, the things you did during the day. By so doing, you're able to point out where you did well and where you didn't do well. Oh, I think I didn't speak to that rightly to that person. The way what I said wasn't. I didn't say it the right way. I think next time when I'm doing that, I have to correct myself. That is how we grow as people, or else we will be stagnant. People who don't reflect do not grow. They don't grow. You would see someone who is 35, who is 40, who is 45, they are still, their thinking processes is still like when they were 22, because they give no time for reflection, you know. So going back to the ORID model in your learning experience, it is very important you sit back and you reflect on how did this class help me? Like we're handling this soft skills class now. After this session or after this entire class, you sit back with your notes or you sit back with yourself and you ask, how did this ORID class help me? Was there anything new I heard? You know, how can I incorporate it in this area, in that area, in this, in that? You know, so that's it. So we've talked about observe, reflect, and then the next one is insights, 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 insights. So under insight is the what you call the interpre interpretive stage. Now, what does this mean? I am trying to interpret this experience. I'm trying to glean insight. Okay, so now what's the difference between this stage and reflection? Reflection is you're trying to recall, and you're trying to um see yourself in this new information you are gaining. I don't know if that makes sense. You are trying to see how um you're trying to it's like I want to use a very simple example that would help us. It's like when you're frying Gary. I don't know if any of you have seen where Gary is being fried, and then you want to make it colored Gary. You know, Gary in itself is white, but if you want to make it colored Gary, you now put the palm oil. So now let's say the class, this learning experience is the white Gary, and now you are the palm oil. So how do I mix in this experience? How do I flow in this experience? Now, for insights, you are now trying to ask yourself, what do I glean from this experience? What insights? You know, what insight am I drawing from this experience? So you are attending a class on what's it called?
Please, sorry, I want to ask a question. Is this class a, a theoretical class? I thought it's a practical class. Join. Just a question, please.
When you say practical class, what do you mean?
You you saying some stuff on slide and perhaps some works like that. That's what I mean. Some real life
Oh,
situations.
some real life what? I lost you at some point. You said some real life what?
He said some real life project.
Some real life project. Okay, so now this is my didactic approach in teaching. When I'm bringing something new, I try to make it as elementary. Um, I this is a model. This is a theory. I will first of all try to lay the foundation of it, and then I will show you how it can be incorporated in real life experience. So now, my session with you, my classes are not like your data science class or product management class or what have you. That's not it. My class is more of soft skills class. Like the last one I had was communication, and if those of you who were in that class on communication, you would see how I made you do some group exercises that showed you how you can incorporate this in your job, in as you interface with clients, as you interface with your supervisor, as you work with people. You know, so when I'm bringing this new, my intention with this class is to help you see how you can incorporate, um, how you can glean all that you need to glean from each of the classes. That's basically it. Because I'm concerned that many of you will attend these classes for 3 months and not absorb up to 80% of the things you hear. That's my concern. I had already set up a curriculum for what to teach: communication, interdisciplinarity, adaptability, and all of that. But then I sat back and I said, no, I have to bring up this, and I've tried as much as I could to break it down on how this could relate to your classes as you attend each of your classes over the next several months. You get what I'm saying. So this is what I do. I this is what I do from place to place. I do trainings. I facilitate from country to country. I don't lecture. I don't do lecturing. And one of the things I said in the live class, which I had tons of slides, but I said in the live class that I don't like doing slides. I gave out my book, Mr. David, those of you in Calabar, I gave out my book. The Hell has been generous enough to discount it. It has all the information concerning the soft skills. And what I told you was go read it. In fact, it has real life applications in it. Go read it. And when we come to have these sessions with you, we can talk and we can see how we can incorporate that in our workplace, in our career, you know. But on second thought, I told Mr. David, I said, Mr. David, please, could you allow me introduce ORID? Because I'm concerned. Because learning as adults is not easy. Let's be honest. So this is one of the ways that could help us so we can integrate learning and improve our learning experience. Okay, so I was in the third phase, which is insights. So under insights, you are asking yourself, what new um, tools have I gotten from this class that would help me in my career? These are questions you have to ask yourself. Powerful questions. Powerful questions. What new insight? And the good thing about this is that if you use ORID after your classes and you're not able to get good answers, it means that that class was not for you. Yes, this is research based stuff. If you use ORID, you observe, you ask yourself objective questions, you reflect, you ask yourself reflective questions, you 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 interpret the class, and you ask yourself, you try to seek insights from that class, and you try to decide which is the last one. And at the end of the day, you see that not much is gotten from each of the stages. That class was not for you. That class was not for you. So this will help you know whether that class on data analytics is for you. If after you've taken it through all of these phases and you see that there's nothing much I'm gaining. You get what I mean? Yeah, so that's exactly the motive of this. I'm actually giving you a tool to be able to decide if this class, if this 3MTT is benefiting you or not. This is the way to gauge. So you have a note, you have a page where you put O for observe. You're asking yourself, what did I observe in this class? What data? What are the facts? Mr. David said this, Mr. David said that. Oh wow. Okay. These are the facts that I need to absorb as someone learning data science. And then you now move to reflection. And then you're now sitting back and ask yourself, okay, where am I in all of this, in this class? How does this benefit me? How does this become relevant for my future in my career? How does this become relevant? So you attend a class in communication, for example, and you after attending the class in communication, you now go back, you're now asking yourself, you're in O, you're now observing, asking yourself objective questions. So what are the objective questions you ask? Okay, what are the components of effective communication? Okay, the class says that the components of effective communication are um, presentation, active listening, and understanding your audience. Hmm. Ah, that's wow. Wow. presentation, active listening, understanding your audience. That is new data. That's new information. Now you go to reflect. You're now thinking, this class on communication, how does it relate to me? How how does it connect to me? And then you now say, this class in communication, yeah. I remember that time I had a customer, I had a client. We were going back and forth, today it's as if he was not understanding what I was saying. Yeah, because I was not presenting well. Yeah. I was not presenting my ideas well. I was not, you know being very descriptive. I was not, um um all of those things. You're now trying to see how this new information would have helped you if you had known this yesterday, if you had known this a year ago. So in reflection, you're asking yourself, if I had attended this class 2 years ago, what would have changed? And then that's where I say, Chai, this class was wonderful. I wish I had attended this class. So, hi, that project that I was finding it difficult to scale through. This thing that Mr. David said, it changed the game. So, reflection, you are now trying to um, see how relevant that information is in your past, present, and future. Yeah. So now under what's it called? Insight. You are now interpreting. You're now trying to interpret this knowledge. You're now trying to look at the insights. So here you are trying to see how you can change the future with this new information. With reflection, you are trying to use this information to look at the past, the mistakes you made, and how you would have corrected them. With insights, you are now looking at this information you've gotten and how you can incorporate it into your future, into scenarios in your future. You get what I mean? Good. So under interpretative, I just have to jot something down to guide my thoughts so I don't move off track. So under the interpretive stage, which is the insight stage, you ask interpretive questions, and these interpretive questions encourage the analysis and evaluation of the topic and the identification of patterns and implications. You see there? I'll read it again. So under the interpretive stage, you ask yourself interpretive questions. And what these questions seek to do is they encourage the analysis and the evaluation of the topic and the identification of patterns and implications. Okay, so if you have a background in medical sciences, this interpretive stage will make sense to you if you have a background in medical sciences. So I have a background in human physiology, and I remember during my final year I did a research on a comparative analysis of comparing chloroquine, coartem, and then there was control, just to check their effects on red blood cells, white blood cells, and blood platelets. So I already had objective information. Okay, antimalarials have an impact on blood cells. This is what it does. This is what it does. This is what it does. Okay, I got the data from other researches that have been done. Then I now reflected. I now asked myself, okay, oh wow, this information that antimalarials have an impact on red blood cells. Oh, it's very interesting. Very interesting. I now began to think of scenarios where I had taken anti-malarial and I started feeling kind of like, woozy, all of those symptoms that shows that you are anemic. And I was like, oh wow. So this is the reason. The anti-malaria over a period of time, as it's trying to break down the plasmodium parasite in the blood, it is also breaking down the blood cells. And so I now do my research. I now do my research. So the research is where I now do my evaluation and analysis. I go to the lab. I'm now applying this knowledge. You get what I mean? I'm applying this knowledge, trying to see, okay, I want to see the results for myself and I want to see what it does. And I want to see how I can use this knowledge in the future. And I did that and I found out that actually chloroquine has stronger effects on red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelet than um, coartem. And that was how I stopped. I discouraged people from using uh, chloroquine. So it now took me to the decision stage. I don't want to jump to the decision stage yet, but I want us to sit with the interpretive stage where you now ask interpretive questions. So you are now analyzing this information. You're now analyzing and you're now trying to see how this fits in in your future. You've heard something new about product management, and you have asked objective questions, you have asked reflective questions, and now you're asking interpretive questions. So now you are trying to bring different scenarios to life, and you are trying to see how this applies to different scenarios. You get what I mean? That's a job you have to do. The teacher is not going to do that for you. You know, that's why the teacher is not going to do that for you. So this is where you now sit back and now you now think of how you're going to apply that. And that's why I always encourage reflective practice. Always encourage reflective practice. So this is how you are able to fully absorb the information. You get what I mean? Yeah. So yes, you can write down your own ORID. Yeah, thank you, Mr. David. Yes. So this is where you can now go back. You heard something that has been said concerning in project management, and you now go back and you say, okay, I'm actually doing a product for um let me think of a brand. I'm actually doing a product for BMW. I want to help them in designing this product and selling it to the market. And now what you're now doing is that you're now trying to take that information to see how this is relevant for the current project you're working on. That's how it sticks. That's how it stays. That's how people become experts. That's how people become experts. You know, you don't become experts by just teaching, talking. You become an expert by practice, and you do, and you do. And it's in the process of doing that you now discover the loopholes. This is how scientists are able to change the world. They got new information. They observed the data. They reflected on the new knowledge. They interpreted the insights. They tried analyzing the data, evaluating the data, and putting it to work, and began to see, okay, yeah, this works here, this works here. And then they are also able to see areas that works for their contexts, their local context, and areas that doesn't work. For example, ORID will help you know that this information does not work in Africa, or this part of it works in Africa, this part of it does not work in Africa. So I'm not going to just focus on what is said in Silicon Valley and then swallow it verbatim and say, oh, they said the XYZ. I'm going to do XYZ. No. ORID is what helps you contextualize your learning. It helps you contextualize your learning, and you're able to bring it home, and it becomes very, very meaningful for you. And so after that, you now go to the final stage, which is the decisional stage. The decisional stage, where you ask yourself decisional questions. And so, what are the decisional questions? So, these decisional questions prompt the action and commitments that people are willing to take regarding the topic. Mhm. So here is where you ask yourself, what are my decisions? What are my decisions? I have gotten this new information. I have seen how relevant it is to me. I've seen the role it can play in my future. So, what's my decision? Do I use this tool? Do I not use it? Get what I mean? So, the decisional phase is where you now decide what you're going to do with that class on product management, data analytics, that particular class, that day's class. I don't mean the entire class in summary. I mean that particular day's class. Always set up an ORID for every class. Always. This is how you are able to um, benefit from each class. And I want you to know that this is research based. This is a research based model to help improve learning. This is a research based model to help improve learning because it's not just come sit in class. I mean, you should have used your time. You're busy people, you're professionals, you're not idle people. You have responsibilities, but you told yourself, I'm going to learn something, you know. And this is applied in everything, everything. Whether you are learning French or learning a language, if you don't do ORID, it's not going to stick. It is not, I've discovered this. I was doing French class and there were areas I struggled. And the reason why I struggled was I did not do ORID at the end of that class. I did not. So if you do that, it's really going to help you. And a lot is going to stick. You will remember so much. You'll be able to recall so much. And when you're speaking about that subject, you will not speak about it like someone who is doing guesswork. Many of our lecturers that are teaching in our universities, they're just teaching on the surface. Or what many of the students, what they know is on the surface. Or it will help you know deep. Go deep in under observe the objective. That's the first stage. You ask yourself objective questions. In fact, if you're using ORID in the course of the class, it will even force you to ask the teacher deep questions to gain clarity. Because with ORID, you seek to know better. You seek to know better. And that's why as facilitators, this is the model we're being advised to use, to help people improve in their learning experience, so that they can come to a logical conclusion or come to a logical comprehension of that discussion or of that class. Because it's not just enough to bring slide one, slide two, slide three, slide four, and you are writing, copying. It's not. Have the notes. The notes will help you with your ORID. It will, you know. But there are questions you have to develop. So after each class, you do your ORID. This page O, the next page R, the next page I, the next page D. So under O, observe. What did I observe? What new information did I observe? What new data? Then under reflect, you put the question there. You ask, what did I feel? How did this class make me feel? And what emotions did it evoke? And what mistakes in the past did it bring to my mind that I need to correct? Then the I, which is interpret. What new insight can I use in the future to move my career forward, to move my expertise forward? And then D, what decision have I made with this class? What new decision, what have I decided to do now that I've gotten this information? What am I going to use it for? So that is it with ORID. And thank you for being part of my class. If you have a question, I would like you to ask your question. I just have 10 minutes with you. I'll be glad to take your questions or contributions if you have something to chime in. I would be glad, because we all learn from each other. I would be glad to hear from you. Okay, yes, someone is asking, can I use a slide? Yes, I am. I first of all, I sincerely apologize. Please, if your mic is on, could you mute it for the time being? Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, I must apologize for not creating a slide for this. It's been a very busy week. Honestly, it's been a very busy week. I haven't I haven't slept well. I had to wake up very early to have this session. I actually informed Mr. David 2 days ago concerning this class. I will make sure that the next class that a slide will be available. I use slides, but this one I wanted to make it very conversational, So I will definitely provide slides. Yeah, thank you. Okay, yes, someone you raised your hand. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Chibuzor.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
morning here, so morning, afternoon.
Okay, it's all right. Please, can I wanted to really expatiate on the aspect of um, reflection.
Yeah,
Yes, I wanted to really talk more on that aspect of reflection. Just
yes,
give a
yes.
recap in that area, please.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
So, the reflective stage of ORID is a very important stage. And the reason why it's an important stage is that you are able to do compare and contrast. You are able to compare um you're able to look at the past and look at how this information would have helped you intervene or correct that error in the past. So let me bring up a real life scenario for us. Um um okay, yes. So I was mentoring someone on this program that that has brought me back to the US uh in 2022. So he had an issue with his host supervisor, and the organization that placed him for that internship were very upset with him. The case was very serious. He was almost to be sent back to his country. And the guy was the way he handled the situation was not really, really nice at all. His emotions were here, there. He wrote emails, did this, said a lot of things. In fact, he even threatened one of the staff of the organization. He said, if I'm being deported, I will teach you a lesson and all of that and all of that. So after that experience, I went to his country to help him on a project. And we discussed about a whole lot of things. And one of the things we talked about during that time was emotional intelligence, managing our emotions in situations of stress and conflict management. And we had that long talk. And then after a few months, he came to Nigeria and also did a project with me. And one evening we were sitting, and he was now recalling that incident that happened in 2022, comparing it now, looking at the information he has now had in conflict management. He now was now using that information to would I say, wearing this information as a lens to look at the incident that happened in 2022. And he said, man, I really acted immaturely. My response was very immature. In fact, I'm really ashamed of myself. I have first-hand and second-hand embarrassment for myself for responding in that way. And he said, I wish I did not. So in reflection, you are trying to look at your life with this new information, through the lens of this new information, and see the areas that needs to be corrected, areas that needs to be addressed, areas that you need to change. Maybe let's just use something like I don't know much about web design. I can use skills like painting, for example. So maybe you used to paint a certain way, used to paint a certain way, and to you that was a good way to paint. But also somehow you knew that there is still more to learn about painting, and you attended this class in painting, and then they told you this is an expert way to paint, because painting this way will ensure that the paint evenly spreads on the wall, it sticks on the wall, it lasts longer, blah blah blah, and all of that. Now, what that reflective stage of ORID does is that you go back and you are thinking about this class on painting. I've been a painter for 10 years. You're now thinking to yourself, I've been a painter for 12 years. And okay, first of all, in the observe, I have not heard that thing I heard today was new. Wow. That this is if you use this style, the painting will come out well, it will be durable, it will be this. And then under reflect, you're now thinking the many times that I have painted, if I had used this style, perhaps that work wouldn't have come out poorly. Perhaps the result would have been much better. It means that I should have applied. If I had known this is how I would have painted that place. Oh wow, this is how I should have done it. I should have done it this way. I should have done it that way. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. And now, one thing with reflection is that you are now internally correcting your wrongs. You are now internally um putting new mental models, because actually our actions are controlled by our mental models and mental chatter. So there's such thing as mental model and mental chatter. Mental model is your view of the world, your perspective of the world, and in it you have stereotypes and you have biases and all of that mixed in that bowl. So you have a mental model of doing what you do, and now this class has disrupted that model, and you've discovered that there is actually a better way. Sometimes it hurts, because you are known to doing this particular way for a long time, and here you are being told the way you're doing it is not actually the best. It may not be wrong, but it's not actually the best. Here is a better way, and you're like, shoot. So it's a tough process. Actually, you now have to break down that model and put up a new one, that would now help you function from it, because models are actually the foundation from which we do things. So those mental models, reflection helps to break them down and set up new ones, with which we now use, and now we now say, okay, this is now a better way to do this. My painting now is going to be different, because I now know a new model of doing this, and that is where you now glide into interpretive or insight, where you now begin to ask yourself, okay, how am I going to use this in the future? I don't know if that's helped in a way.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay, okay. Before I leave, please, I would like you to mentor me personally. So I don't know if you can help with your contact, so I can follow you, or either email or number. Yeah. Thank
No
you.
problem, madam. Mr. David will definitely give you my contact and my email, my phone
Okay.
number, and
Thank you
my
very
email.
much. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
I think Mr. Chibuzor is in the group. He was added today, so you are totally free to have conversations with them. But
Okay.
again, please do not do not do not call him at midnight when he's trying to do his prayers. I beg. Allow the man
All
of
right.
God to sleep.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Chibuzor, good day. I,
Good day,
I
sir.
am so grateful for this class. It came out timely because I think it is very helpful to the such great classes, which will help us to create our own model to assess each class that we attend. So I just want to appreciate for the time spent to highlight what it takes to build an ORID model, which will help us to get and glean more from the classes that lies ahead of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate appreciate this class. I really appreciate. I'm grateful. At least
Thank
I've
you.
gotten the insight of what I have not gotten before. I really appreciate.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma.
Thank you, Mr. Chibuzor. This is purely one one class. Really appreciate you and I learned a lot. Thank you. God bless you.
Hello, Mr. Olufola. I don't know. Your voice is dim. I can't hear you. I don't know if the rest can hear you.
I thank you. This is purely GNS 101 class. Really enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you, Mr. David. I'm grateful. The class will help me do better in my data analysis classes. After observation, reflective, and interpretive thinking, so it will enable me to understand better and do better.
Mm,
I'm grateful.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. Is it morning? Good afternoon.
Yeah. It's morning for some of us.
Actually, I want to ask a question.
Okay.
ORID, about ORID, yeah. Does ORID applies just for data analyst classes, or it can also apply to all aspects of life?
To all aspects of life. To all aspects of life. In fact, every experience you can use ORID. The reason for ORID is to improve your learning and your wisdom. You could go to a particular place, have an experience, even attend a wedding. You can do an ORID on a wedding. You ask yourself, what did I observe? And you ask yourself, how did I feel? Was I inspired by the decoration? Was I inspired by the MC or by what? And then you ask yourself, what are the new insights that I have gotten from this? And then decision. What decisions have I made with all of this information that I've gotten? So you can apply to any area of your life. And the reason why we are sharing this is to apply to your classes, the different classes. Have a jotter at, where you set your ORID model, you put O, then you put certain questions peculiar to that class. Under observe, what did I observe class? Or what new data have I observed? And you do the same thing with reflective questions, with interpretive and decisional questions. You will discover that you will be able to learn a lot, a lot. You don't even tell yourself, I didn't know I learned so much from this class, though. I just thought it's just one, two things I learned. I didn't know I actually learned so much in this class. So ORID will really help you in different areas of your life, but most importantly, all the classes you attend.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, we get into conversation with some people, like some people also learning same courses, and you hear them say some things like they don't actually have passion for data analysis or tech, but they just want to do it because of what they tend to gain from it. I don't know, that kind of viewpoint, is it
Yeah,
encouraging in part of ORID?
yeah, that's a very important thing. So what ORID will help do in that situation is that it's going to help reveal to you if that class is relevant for you. And many of them will be hooked at the reflective stage. Because the reflective stage is where you ask, how does this class make me feel? Does this class make me feel empowered? Does this class make me feel, I learned something. This class is so nice. There are classes you attend, you are happy. There are classes you attend, you're inspired. Oh, yes, I'm learning. But there are classes you attend, you feel drained. And so when you ask yourself, how do I feel? You now begin to think, this data analytics class, it's like me now. I don't really have a passion for, it's not that data analytics is not a good thing, but if I take it forward, I attend a data analytics class and I realize that I don't have passion, I'm reflecting and I say I don't have passion, it means that class is not for me.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at How do I feel? Do I feel that this is for me? Do I feel that I'm inspired? There are moments you could attend a class, you know this class is for you, even though it's complex, it's somehow complex, but you know I need this class, I need this class, I need this class. But if you attend a class, you're an adult, you are grown, you attend a class and you look at the class and you feel, no, this is not for me. Already helps expose that, and then you're able to know that, no, this class is not for me.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I think I'll take one more question and I'll take my leave because I have
Okay.
to go
Okay,
for the
sir.
airport.
Please, I think this ORID works better in some
Okay.
harsh
Nice one.
situations, because sometimes when we get into harsh
So
situations like maybe accident or a bad event occurring, like for me, when I had my last baby, it was a tragic one for me, and the event still plays in my memory to date. I can't forget about it. So I just knew ORID works better in harsh situations or harsh occurrences. I
I know
could
why
tell
you're
you
saying
story of
this.
what happened that day till up is over 3 years, but I could remember every damn thing that happened that day. So
That happened, and I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you why that is. ORID is for learning, not for trauma, because what you've experienced is trauma. And like I mentioned, how the brain works. The reason why that reflective stage of ORID is important is that that stage focuses on how you feel, because there is something about how you feel. How you feel knows how to put a stamp on what you know in that moment. So there are certain things you remember, they happened 20 years ago. The reason why you remember them was because of the strong feelings attached to that experience, the strong feelings attached to that knowledge. That is why it's there. And for learning, the reason why we try to do reflective practice is so that it stays in our mind. To trigger the brain to keep it in our mind so we don't forget. But for tragic incidences like that, those are information we do not want to remain. Now, we there are certain information that can't leave your mind. But one of the things therapy tries to do is to help reduce the harshness of the feeling. For example, there are people who maybe they had an accident, and the accident actually happened with a Mercedes car. It was maybe a very terrible accident. So anytime they see a Mercedes car, they remember that accident, and then the feeling of that moment comes, and you begin to see the trepidation, you know. So what therapy does is that therapy tries to help you to interpret that situation in a different light, because interpretation is what I don't want to go into trauma talk, because that's not what is now I'm now going to delve into. The reason why you are having that feeling is because of the trauma. And one thing I'll advise you is you will need a trained therapist to help you revisit that situation and interpret it differently this time. Because the reason why it's still very painful is that you're still holding on to the past interpretation. It's, one of the things that make events hold strong meaning, strong weight, is the interpretation we give it. Is the interpretation. We can't change the event, it has happened, but it's the interpretation we give it. So what a therapist does is it's not going to make you forget it. What the therapist to do is to help you develop a better interpretation for that event, so it does not, so the pain or the harsh feeling doesn't arise each time you recall. So that's a different this thing. But ORID is for learning. ORID is for learning. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next class. I will be talking on. I want to bring up this class. What's it called? The culture and structure of a winning team. So I want to see how I can bring in. Um, it's a blend of different soft skills. But I know that some of you are supervisors in your workplaces. You are heads of departments. You are bosses, and it's also important to understand the structure and the culture of a winning team. We're going to be looking at the anatomy of a failing team. What are the things to look out for if a team is failing? What are the diagnoses you need to do? And where should you start treatments? Pay attention to in order to make sure your team wins. Thank you so much for your time and see you in our next class. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Bye.
much,
sir.
Mr. Chibuzor. Have a
We are
safe flight.
grateful.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.